American success stories.
He comes naked with his shoes on.
And they are scared.
Black shoes, no.
Junior Olympic boxing championship.
Proximity to perhaps the most talented, gifted fighter to ever exist. Saw Tyson's potential. D'Amato immediately went to work, preparing him. Rage of the impoverished and abused.
That's
when I go to big cities, everybody stop.
To tremendous fanfare.
This boy is tough.
Tyson mania
was trained, to be a killer.
Any Tyson experience.
But he has developed
Mike Tyson.
What happens when you combine explosive power, ferocious speed, and an unmatched killer instinct? You get Mike Tyson, a fighter who didn't just win fights, he destroyed his opponents. His knockouts weren't just victories, they were statements. His name still echoes through boxing history as one of the most feared punchers to ever step into the ring. But how did he do it? How did a young kid from Brooklyn rise to become the most dominant knockout artist the sport had ever seen? And why do his knockouts still send chills down the spine of boxing fans today? Let's dive into the incredible knockout legacy of Iron Mike Tyson, the man who redefined power in boxing. Early life. The birth of a powerhouse born. Michael Gerard Tyson on June 30th, 1966 in Brooklyn, New York. Tyson's early life was filled with hardship. Raised in Brownsville, one of the toughest neighborhoods in the city, Tyson was no stranger to violence. He was bullied relentlessly as a child, mocked for his high-pitched voice and shy demeanor. But those taunts only fueled a fire inside him, a rage that would later become his greatest weapon. Tyson's first fights weren't in a ring, they were on the streets. He learned to fight out of necessity, using his fists to survive in a world that seemed determined to break him. By the age of 13, he had already been arrested more than 30 times, caught in a cycle of petty crime and street brawls. But fate intervened when he was sent to the Tryon School for Boys, a juvenile detention center. It was there that Tyson's raw talent was discovered by former boxer Bobby Stewart, who introduced him to legendary trainer Cus D'Amato. D'Amato saw something in Tyson that others couldn't, a rare combination of speed, power, and ferocity. Under D'Amato's guidance, Tyson's raw aggression was honed into a lethal fighting style. D'Amato taught him the peekaboo technique, a defensive system that emphasized head movement, quick counters, and devastating power. Tyson's punches weren't just strong, they were precise, calculated, and delivered with a speed that left opponents dazed and confused. By the time Tyson turned pro in 1985 at just 18 years old, the world was about to witness something terrifying. The knockout machine begins. A meteoric rise. Tyson's professional debut was a warning shot to the boxing world. On March 6, 1985, he stepped into the ring against Hector Mercedes and needed only one round to demolish him. It was the first of many first-round knockouts that would define his early career. In his first year as a pro, Tyson fought 15 times, winning every single fight by knockout. Opponents crumbled under his sheer power, and fans were mesmerized by his ability to end fights in seconds. It wasn't just that he knocked people out, it was how he did it. His hooks and uppercuts were like sledgehammers, and his ability to slip punches before delivering devastating counters was otherworldly. One of his most iconic early knockouts came against Jesse Ferguson in 1986. Tyson broke Ferguson's nose with a brutal uppercut, forcing the fight to be stopped in the 6th round. It was a display of raw power and precision that left the boxing world in awe. By November 1986, Tyson's relentless assault led him to the biggest fight of his young career, against Trevor Berbick for the WBC heavyweight title. The youngest heavyweight champion in history, At just 20 years old, Mike Tyson stepped into the ring with Trevor Berbick, a solid champion in his own right. But what unfolded that night was pure destruction. Tyson floored Berbick in the second round with a punch so powerful that Berbick stumbled across the ring, trying and failing to get back up. The image of Berbick collapsing to the canvas, struggling to regain his footing, became one of the most iconic moments in boxing history. With that knockout, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, a record that still stands today. But he wasn't done yet. The knockouts that defined an era. Tyson went on a rampage, unifying the heavyweight titles and taking down legends. Some of his most iconic knockouts include Michael Spinks, 1988. This was supposed to be Tyson's toughest test. Spinks was undefeated and a former champion. The fight lasted only 91 seconds. Tyson's first punch sent Spinks stumbling, and a final uppercut ended it. Spinks had never been knocked out before. That night, he was not only beaten, but erased from the heavyweight landscape. Larry Holmes, 1988. A former heavyweight champion and one of the greatest boxers ever, Holmes had never been knocked out. Tyson changed that. He dropped Holmes 3 times in the 4th round, finishing him with a right hand that sent him crashing to the canvas. Frank Bruno, 1989. Bruno was strong, durable, and had heart. But Tyson's power was simply too much. After a brutal assault, a vicious right hand in the 5th round sealed the deal. Carl Williams, 1989. Tyson needed just 93 seconds to finish Williams with a single left hook that sent him to the canvas, proving once again that his knockout power was second to none. The fall and the comeback. Tyson's reign of terror came to a shocking halt in 1990 when he was stunned by James "Buster" Douglas. Douglas, a 42-1 underdog, survived Tyson's early onslaught and delivered a devastating combination in the 10th round, handing Tyson his first professional loss. But even after setbacks, including time away from boxing, Tyson's power never left him. In 1996, he made a triumphant return, reclaiming the heavyweight title with a devastating knockout of Frank Bruno. The later years, the final knockouts. Even as Tyson aged, his power remained. One of his last great knockouts came in 1999 against Francois Botha, where a single punch in the 5th round ended the fight in dramatic fashion. However, by the early 2000s, Tyson's dominance began to wane. Losses to Lennox Lewis and Danny Williams marked the end of his time as a top-tier fighter, but even in defeat, Tyson's knockout power remained a thing of legend. The legacy of iron. Mike Tyson's knockout legacy is unmatched. He didn't just win fights, he ended them. His power, speed, and ferocity made him one of the most feared fighters in boxing history. But more than that, his knockouts were a reflection of his personality, raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically brutal. Today, Tyson's knockouts are still studied, celebrated, and revered. They remind us of a time when boxing was ruled by a man who didn't just want to win, he wanted to destroy. And that's why, even decades later, the name Mike Tyson still sends chills down the spine of boxing fans around the world. Conclusion: Mike Tyson wasn't just a boxer. He was a force of nature. His knockouts weren't just victories. They were moments of pure, unadulterated power. From the streets of Brooklyn to the pinnacle of boxing glory, Tyson's journey is a testament to the raw, unrelenting power of the human spirit. So, when you think of Mike Tyson, don't just think of a fighter. Think of a knockout artist, a destroyer of men, and a legend whose power will forever be etched in the annals of boxing history.